Love doesn't check birth dates, or at least, that's what people like to believe. But once you step into the world of celebrities, that idea starts to crack. In that spotlight, an age gap is never just a number. It becomes fuel for whispers, side eyes, and relentless judgment. Old men chasing youth. Young girls playing with relics. When a male star well past his prime wraps his arm around a woman decades younger, the word love quickly loses its innocence. From the outside, these unions sparkle like modern fairy tales, glowing with fame and fortune. Yet behind closed doors, the weight is heavy. Every day, the years between them feel sharper, quieter, more cutting. Strangers count birthdays, compare spouses to children's ages, and turn private affection into public autopsy. When fame, power, money, and age collide, the result is a relationship that looks unbreakable, but cracks easily. The stories ahead dive into 9 such marriages. Massive age gaps. Public outrage. Some found peace late in life. Others were left with nothing but silence. Robert Mugabe, a national liberation hero whose life drifted into tragedy, where power, obsession, and a 41-year age gap turned romance into a global scandal. For decades, Mugabe was inseparable from modern Zimbabwe, once celebrated as a freedom icon, later shunned amid controversy and isolation. And standing beside him, just as inseparable, was Grace Mugabe. Their story did not begin with wedding bells or public blessings. It was born in secrecy, inside the guarded corridors of the presidential palace. Around 1986 to 1987, Grace Mugabe was a young secretary in Zimbabwe's executive office when a hidden relationship formed with the most powerful man in the nation. At the time, Grace was married to Air Force pilot Stanley Goraza and had a young son, Russell. But in the shadowy world of absolute power, moral lines quickly dissolved. The affair stayed quiet, but its impact was life-changing. In 1988, Grace gave birth to a daughter, Bona. The public heard nothing. The child was not Stanley's. In the early 1990s, a son, Robert Peter Jr., followed, his true parentage shielded by political authority. Meanwhile, Mugabe's wife, Sally Hayfron, was slowly dying from end-stage cancer. The contrast was heartbreaking, one woman fading alone without her husband's care, another secretly giving birth in the shadows, her lover close every night. All of it revolved around one man at the height of his power. On January 27, 1992, Sally Hayfron died. Her death closed one chapter of Mugabe's life and flung open the door to the affair that had long been hidden. 4 years later, on August 17, 1996, Robert Mugabe, then 72, married Grace, just 31, in what was dubbed the wedding of the century. Held at a Catholic church in Harare, the ceremony drew nearly 40,000 guests. Luxury cars filled the streets, lights blazed, and global figures, including Nelson Mandela, were in attendance. Outside the gates, Zimbabweans struggled with poverty. Inside, extravagance reigned. After the wedding, Grace was no longer a quiet secretary. She rose rapidly onto the political and social stage. The nickname Gucci Grace spread worldwide. Shopping sprees across Europe cost millions. Designer handbags, high heels, and diamond jewelry became her signature. Back home, citizens stood in endless lines for bread, fuel, and cash. The contrast hit the nation like a slap in the face. Scandals soon followed. In June 2009, Grace assaulted a photographer in Hong Kong. Images of the First Lady attacking a journalist went viral. Then came August 13, 2017, at a luxury hotel in Sandton, South Africa, when Grace allegedly beat model Gabriella Engels with an extension cord over accusations involving her sons. The incident shocked the world, yet power once again shielded her. She walked free under diplomatic immunity. These were not just personal scandals, they fractured the government itself. By late 2017, Grace's political ambition was unmistakable. She openly attacked rivals, accusing Vice President Emmerson Mnangagwa of plotting to poison her husband. Tension filled the air. Rumors of succession swirled. Then came November 14, 2017. A military coup. Robert Mugabe was placed under house arrest in Harare. The man who had ruled Zimbabwe for nearly 4 decades suddenly isolated in his own home. Grace vanished from the center of power, fading into silence. Their marriage, once bound by influence and excess, crumbled piece by piece. They never officially divorced, but they lived apart, disconnected, forgotten. On September 6, 2019, Robert Mugabe died in Singapore. Yet even in death, peace did not follow. Grace ignited bitter disputes with his family over his burial, reigniting public anger. What once looked like love fueled by power ended as hollow echoes. The very force that bound them eventually pushed them apart, away from authority, away from admiration, and away from the public they once dominated. Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie, a living monument of pop music who finally found peace in a low-key love. Yet a 40-year age gap keeps the public watching without blinking. Lionel Richie is more than a superstar. He is a voice stitched into memories, a hitmaker whose love songs soundtrack generations, a global icon who once stood at the absolute peak of fame and fortune. But behind the accolades came exhaustion. By the time he turned 65, Richie was carrying the weight of 2 long, painful marriages, especially his 2004 divorce that reportedly cost him nearly $20 million. Those years left him guarded, weary, and deeply cautious about love and family. Then, quietly in 2014, everything changed. At a private gathering in Los Angeles, Lisa Parigi entered his life. She was just 25, Swiss Caribbean, traveling from Europe, untouched by Hollywood or the entertainment scene. She wasn't chasing spotlights or headlines. Instead, she brought something Richie hadn't felt in years: calm. In a world that never stopped demanding his energy, Lisa felt like silence after noise, a fresh breeze through chaos. Their connection formed quickly, but it wasn't loud or flashy. Within close circles, Lisa became known as Richie's grounding force, the person who slowed his pace, pulled him away from endless nights, fleeting romances, and a lifestyle that had worn him thin. His rhythm changed. His priorities shifted. But once the relationship surfaced publicly, the calm shattered. The media locked onto one detail and refused to let go: the 40-year age gap. Lisa was younger than Richie's eldest daughter, Nicole, born in 1981. Social media turned ruthless. Ages were counted. Generations compared. Motives questioned. Comment sections filled with accusations of money, status, and shallow exchanges disguised as love. The scrutiny followed them like a shadow, quiet, constant, inescapable. Instead of fighting back, Richie chose silence. He spoke little. Lisa spoke even less. They appeared only when necessary, then disappeared just as quickly. Ironically, that discretion only fueled curiosity. Critics predicted a short-term fling, a twilight romance destined to fade. Time proved them wrong. Year after year, they stayed together, calmly weathering every wave of public judgment. On Valentine's Day 2021, a simple photo marked 7 years of shared life. Nothing staged. Nothing dramatic. Yet it ignited the internet. Some saw it as proof that love can outlast age. Others doubled down on old suspicions. Richie offered no explanation. The image spoke for itself. As the years passed, their bond remained steady. They attended major events side by side but kept their private world sealed. At the 2024 Grammys, they appeared inseparable. In May, they walked together at the King's Trust Gala, poised, united. Behind the scenes, Lisa gradually built close, genuine relationships with Richie's children, shaping what looked like a stable, respectful family despite relentless outside noise. Still, the label never disappeared. Every public appearance reignited whispers. Extreme comparisons followed them everywhere, forcing their personal life to remain guarded, revealed only in carefully chosen moments. From the outside, Lionel Richie and Lisa Parigi's marriage can look like a tightrope walk, balanced, enduring, and constantly tested by public opinion. Yet through years of speculation, judgment, and doubt, they have remained together. After decades of storms, fame, and heartbreak, this quiet love may be exactly what Lionel Richie has been searching for all along. Turner. Ike Turner. a music legend whose brilliance was forever haunted by violence. A 27-year age gap pushed his final marriage toward an emotional abyss. Ike Turner was a towering musician and producer whose fingerprints are all over the foundation of American music, shaping countless defining records. He once stood at the peak of fame, until his life slowly unraveled into scandals of domestic abuse, addiction, and paranoia. Ike's relationship with Audrey Madison began through music and grueling rehearsals. They met in 1993 through a mutual friend, and Audrey soon entered Ike's orbit as a backup singer. Before long, she became the lead vocalist in his band. The stage bonded them, bright lights blurred the age gap and softened the weight of Ike's turbulent past. By 1999, they were living as husband and wife, though without a ceremony or legal papers. Just years of endless touring, smoky rooms, and a home filled with simmering tension. Their relationship stretched on, attached yet fragile. Ike was already on the downside of his life, and Audrey adapted to orbiting a deeply moody man. One moment affectionate and vulnerable, the next withdrawn and dark. On October 8, 2006, they officially married in a small Las Vegas chapel. No fanfare. No crowd. Ike was 75. The late ceremony felt like an anchor for a drifting life, but instead, it opened the door to an even darker chapter. Just 2 months later, on December 22, 2006, Ike filed for divorce. The reason shocked many. He believed someone was poisoning his medication. Paranoia spread like toxic smoke, revealing a mind slipping further from stability. It seemed like their 12-year bond had finally collapsed, but it didn't. In 2007, they reconciled, trapped in a relationship constantly tearing itself apart between love, fear, and exhaustion. Audrey stayed. She continued caring for Ike, enduring his extreme mood swings and unpredictable behavior. In her 2016 memoir, Audrey revealed a raw and unsettling truth. Ike suffered from bipolar disorder and severe cocaine addiction. At times, he was gentle, fragile, and desperate for comfort. Then, without warning, violent rage would erupt. The cycle repeated endlessly, crashing waves of abuse followed by retreat, leaving wounds that never healed. What chilled many was Audrey's familiarity with violence. Her childhood had been marked by abuse from her mother. Bruises and screaming were normal to her. By marrying Ike, she had unknowingly stepped back into the same pattern, only with a different abuser. That familiarity may have kept her there, convincing herself the violence was simply illness. She knew Ike's brutal history with Tina Turner. The warning signs were always present. Yet instead of leaving, she stayed, caring for him until his final days in their San Marcos home. In late 2007, the atmosphere grew heavier by the day. On December 12, Ike Turner died from a cocaine overdose. His death closed a bitter, violent life, but the tragedy didn't end there. Another battle began. Audrey presented a handwritten will, allegedly written 2 months before Ike's death, naming her as the sole heir. Immediately, conflict erupted. Ike's children challenged it. Friends spoke out. Legal battles followed. Every word of the will was scrutinized. In the end, the court ruled the will invalid. Audrey lost the inheritance, lost most of the assets, left behind with nothing but memories. Yet her greatest tragedy wasn't financial, it was blind forgiveness. For over 13 years, Audrey forgave Ike again and again, believing his violence was rooted in illness, torment, and addiction. Public opinion remains divided. Some see her as manipulative. Others view her as Ike Turner's final victim. Either way, their marriage ended as a haunting reminder of love entangled with violence, and the devastating price of staying too long in the wrong place. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder. A blind genius who found lasting love after loss, turning a 23-year age gap into a symbol of resilience. Stevie Wonder is a global music legend, the owner of countless awards, timeless songs, and a rare influence that spans generations. His love story with Tamika Robin Bracey began quietly in the early 2010s. For nearly 5 years, they dated away from the spotlight, building a bond before the world ever noticed. During that private chapter, their family took shape first, Son Zia was born in 2013, followed by daughter Nia in December 2014. Only then did the couple step out of secrecy and acknowledge their relationship publicly. By that time, Stevie was no longer a young star chasing fame, but a seasoned icon carrying the weight of 2 failed marriages. His first, to Sarita Wright, lasted from 1970 to 1972 and ended with lingering regret over small, unresolved conflicts. His second, to Kai Millard, stretched over a decade before collapsing in 2012 amid constant rumors of infidelity. Those heartbreaks made Stevie cautious, guarded, and deeply protective of his private life. Adding to the pressure were whispers about his ability to father children later in life, speculation that created silent strain. Stevie answered none of it. He chose silence, distance, and a firm boundary between his family and public curiosity. For Tamika, the past carried an even deeper scar. In 2004, she lost her 2-year-old son, Isaiah, in a tragic fall accident. That loss never faded. It reshaped her entire worldview, turning child protection into instinct and survival. The pain followed her into every decision that came after. Entering a relationship with Stevie, Tamika carried an unhealed wound, with fear of loss always close at hand. On July 15, 2017, they were married at the Hotel Bel Air in Los Angeles. The ceremony was described as one of the most romantic in show business. Intimate, elegant, and discreet. Music royalty filled the room. John Legend, Pharrell, and Usher were present, while Babyface's performance transformed the wedding into a once-in-a-lifetime musical moment. For Stevie and Tamika, it marked a new chapter, one built equally on love and lived pain. After the wedding, glimpses of their family life remained rare. Stevie and Tamika share little, appearing publicly only when it truly matters, often alongside their children. Much of that restraint reflects Tamika's guarded nature after her devastating loss. For her, safety outweighs spotlight. Public outings are few, privacy is absolute, and protection is pushed to the highest level. That discipline has helped keep their family steady amid the chaos of the entertainment world. Stevie Wonder and Tamika Robin Bracey's marriage stands apart from most celebrity unions. There is no showboating, no noise, only layers of unseen pressure. On one side, Stevie's complicated marital past. On the other, Tamika's enduring grief. Faced with both, they chose a slower life, a quieter rhythm, and a deep focus on parenting. Together, they built a family grounded like stone, held together by patience, persistence, and a boundless love for each other and their children. Quincy Jones. A living legend. A musical architect whose fingerprints shaped global pop culture for decades. But behind the brilliance and accolades was a love story that fascinated and divided the public. In the early 1990s, at a moment when life paths rarely intersect, Quincy Jones and Nastassja Kinski collided. Around 1991 to 1992, Quincy was nearing 60, carrying a lifetime of fame and complicated romances. Nastassja, just past 31, was emerging from the wreckage of a broken marriage. Two souls at opposite ends of their journeys found themselves drawn together at the most unexpected time. By July 1992, old wounds began to fade. Nastassja entered Quincy's world with striking beauty and a heavy past, while Quincy stepped in as the seasoned man, attentive, indulgent, and deeply experienced in love's chaos. They moved quickly, sharing his Los Angeles home. Yet Nastassja kept a separate apartment near UCLA, almost like a quiet escape hatch, as if she understood from the start how fragile this bond might be. On February 9, 1993, their daughter, Kenya Kinski Jones, was born. Her arrival forced their undefined relationship into the public eye. Still, there was no wedding, no grand declaration, only a quiet legal registration. Their bond existed in a gray space, deep enough to tie their lives together, but missing the ritual that might have sealed it forever. The public never let them breathe. The age gap became constant fuel for gossip. One man who had lived nearly a full lifetime in fame, one woman almost 3 decades younger. Adding to the pressure was the shadow of Nastassja's past, repeatedly dragged back into headlines, reshaped and exaggerated until it weighed heavily on everything she touched. Each time her name appeared, judgment followed, suffocating the relationship. For Quincy, whose love life had long been labeled complicated, jealousy rumors came easily. Arguments were frequent. Long Los Angeles nights echoed with raised voices and broken silence. Yet Nastassja often chose compromise. A necklace, a rare designer bag, a soft explanation. Conflicts dissolved before ever reaching the press. When rumors flared, they responded not with words but appearances. In late June 1993, Quincy was photographed entering a bar with another woman. A week later, on July 7th, they arrived together at the Montreux Jazz Festival, radiating unity and silencing breakup whispers with a single image. But beneath the surface, the relationship was eroding. Between 1995 and 1997, arguments became relentless. Quincy grew distant, often absent, no longer trying to soothe a woman who once felt cherished. The end came quietly, no spectacle, no scandal, just a divorce agreement and a division of assets. The way it ended mirrored how it began, silently. Still, the echoes lingered. Rumors resurfaced. Old narratives were recycled as easy explanations for a love that never made it to the altar and left behind only one child. Quincy returned to familiar patterns. Nastassja walked away with another wound, her private life once again dissected in public. Their love, bold, unequal, and vowless, closed without ceremony. And some say, perhaps, that was inevitable. Vows or not, the ending may have been the same. Harry Belafonte, a towering civil rights icon, cultural pioneer, and global conscience, yet his final love story unfolded far from the spotlight. The music legend who carried Caribbean folk music to the world and spent a lifetime battling some of the century's greatest social injustices quietly remarried late in life, choosing devotion over spectacle. In April 2008, at age 81, Belafonte entered his third marriage. There was no red carpet, no celebrity crowd, no headlines chasing the moment. He wed Pamela Frank, a photographer 17 years his junior, who had stood beside him for years before the ceremony, patient, observant, and deliberately unseen. This was not a flashy romance or a fairy tale ending. It was a union shaped by history, sacrifice, and the immense weight of the Belafonte name. Just 4 years earlier, in 2004, Harry ended his second marriage to Julie Robinson after 47 years together. The separation was not gentle. For decades, he lived torn between family responsibilities and an unrelenting civil rights mission. Endless travel, political organizing, and long absences slowly eroded the marriage. The divorce left him with a lingering regret. He knew the cost of neglect, and he carried it heavily. Pamela entered his life during his most hollow years. She did not rush into the public eye or seek attention. She moved quietly, stayed behind the scenes, watched, listened, and cared. When Belafonte chose to remarry, it was not a decision driven by passion or impulse, but by time, by witnessing Pamela's steady devotion when the applause had faded. Still, the age gap and his towering fame loomed like an invisible burden. After the wedding, Pamela became his constant presence, almost his shadow. She sought no titles, no political platforms, yet she was there at every crucial moment. At the NAACP Image Awards on February 1, 2013, they appeared together, calmly bonded, unbothered by judgmental stares. At Michael Moore's Broadway opening in 2017, Pamela stood beside him again, never stepping away. One quiet regret lingered: they would never share children. Pamela entered his family as a stepmother, a delicate role when married to a global icon. Out of respect and sensitivity, she chose not to have children of her own. As the 2020s arrived, Belafonte's health steadily declined. Pamela transitioned from partner to caregiver with unwavering patience. Red carpet appearances grew rare, engagements carefully chosen, but she was always there. In 2021, when Harry was awarded France's National Order of the Legion of Honor, Pamela stood just behind him, watching as the world honored a lifetime of sacrifice. Her eyes were fixed not on the applause, but on the man who had carried nearly a century of struggle. On April 25, 2023, Harry Belafonte passed away at home from heart failure. Pamela was the only one by his side in his final moments. After his passing, she became the quiet keeper of his final chapter, the witness to a legend's last years. Their marriage was not a conventional love story. It was something rarer. A bond forged late, fully aware of the ending, where love meant duty, endurance, and care through aging and illness. There were no public displays, no dramatic gestures, only a profound sincerity that spoke louder than any headline ever could. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, the legendary boxer, found his greatest strength not in the ring, but in the quiet devotion of a woman 15 years his junior. A three-time heavyweight world champion, a fearless civil rights voice, and one of the most unmistakable figures of the 20th century, Ali was already becoming a legend when his love story with Yolanda Lonnie Ali quietly began. Its roots trace back to the 1960s in a modest Louisville neighborhood, when Ali was still Cassius Clay, just 21 years old, famous, yet still an ordinary young man. Lonnie was only 6 then, a neighbor kid who unknowingly drifted into the orbit of a future icon. As the years passed, their bond was never romantic, more like family. Ali was the big brother figure, protective and guiding, often warning Lonnie to stay clear of the loud, tempting world that surrounded him. But everything shifted in 1982, when the spotlight dimmed and Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The trembling hands, slowed speech, and crushing fatigue became harsh reminders that time spares no one, not even the greatest athlete on earth. Lonnie returned to Ali's life not as a lover, but as unwavering support. Quietly present, never absent, she became his primary caregiver. Ali, in return, sponsored her education through an MBA at UCLA, as if both understood, without words, that their paths were now permanently intertwined. On November 19, 1986, they married in a private ceremony in Louisville. No crowds. No spectacle. Even their families were stunned. Few could imagine that two people who once saw each other as siblings would walk this far together. This was Ali's 4th marriage, following decades marked by broken unions, public scandals, and exhaustion from a restless playboy lifestyle. He entered marriage with Lonnie no longer an invincible champion, but a man worn down by illness and regret. Lonnie stepped into his life fully aware of that weight. The past never disappeared, it lingered in public judgment and skeptical glances, but she chose patience, silence, and care. She converted from Catholicism to Islam, merging her life into Ali's spiritual world, embracing him at both his peak and his weakest moments. They adopted a son, Asad Amin, in 1986, building a sense of family as Ali's health continued to decline. Year after year, Lonnie stood beside him at events, always ready to steady his steps. She wasn't just caring for a sick husband, she was protecting a global icon from being erased by time and illness. Their marriage endured nearly 30 years, shaped by Parkinson's relentless grip and the echoes of Ali's past. As Ali gradually lost his ability to speak and move, his legacy remained untouchable. Lonnie became its guardian, shaping how the world remembered him, transforming tragedy into a final chapter of resilience, dignity, and enduring love. On June 3, 2016, Muhammad Ali passed away, the man who once shook the world, ending his journey in the arms of the woman who had known him since childhood. Not a love that burned fiercely from the start, but one that smoldered like embers, quiet, enduring, and warm long after the flame had faded. Miles Davis. Miles Davis. A jazz genius whose creativity ignited inside a short, volatile marriage. An 18-year age gap turning love into a consuming flame. Miles wasn't just a musician, he was a monument of modern jazz, a pathbreaker behind some of the most radical musical revolutions of the century. He shattered boundaries, rewrote rules, and left a mark no one could replace. On a loud May night in 1967 at New York's Village Gate, Miles stepped into the world of Betty Mabry. Betty was 24, model, singer, and deeply plugged into the city's restless creative youth. Miles was 42, at the peak of fame, yet wrapped in loneliness and emotional frost. Their connection was instant and intense. Within weeks, Betty was everywhere in his life. She brought a new energy, rock grit, funk attitude, nights that bled into morning. From 1967 to 1968, Miles' apartment became a magnet for rising legends. Betty pulled Jimi Hendrix and Sly Stone into Miles' orbit, and those encounters shook him to the core. His music began to mutate, colors shifted, rhythms bent, the music seemed to breathe differently. On September 26, 1968, they married. No spectacle, no excess, just a clean, quiet ceremony, perfectly Miles. Betty stepped into the role of wife unprepared for what it would demand. Only 3 months later, her image appeared on the cover of Fia's de Kilimanjaro, and the track, Mademoiselle Mabry, was Miles' musical love letter to her. His sound during that time was both tender and ferocious, mirroring the chaos inside their home. Explosive creativity came with a dark shadow. Miles' temper grew unpredictable. Jealousy became routine. He suspected Betty of being more than friends with Jimi Hendrix. Suspicion curdled into violence. During one argument over a group trip with Betty's friends, including Jimmy, Miles hurled a glass at her head. She was bruised, narrowly escaping serious injury. Life under that pressure became unbearable. Betty's name slowly turned into an excuse for Miles' unchecked rage. The inspiration faded, replaced by survival. Just a year later, the marriage collapsed, ended as quickly and cleanly as it began. Betty left carrying wounds no one could see. Years later, she admitted that single year reshaped her completely. Every day beside Miles forced her to grow up fast, hardened her, pushed her to emotional extremes just to endure. Loving Miles meant living in a storm where creation and destruction walked side by side. After the split, Miles surged forward. In 1970 came Bitches Brew, a jazz fusion landmark, violent, electric, rule-breaking, its tensions still echoing the time he spent with Betty. That brief marriage disappeared on paper, but it lived on in every horn cry and fractured rhythm. Meanwhile, Betty Mabry stepped into her own spotlight. Renaming herself Betty Davis, she released bold, aggressive funk albums and claimed her own voice, though Miles' shadow never fully left her. In the end, they both won and lost. Miles gained the spark that fueled a musical revolution but lost the woman who lit it. Betty gained resilience and identity, but paid for it with a year of fear and instability. The marriage lasted barely 12 months, yet its aftershocks rippled through their lives and music for decades. George Foreman. Heavyweight boxing icon George Foreman finally brought an end to a wild, extravagant lifestyle with his fifth marriage, to a woman 14 years younger than him. A two-time world heavyweight champion, football team owner, and one of the greatest comeback stories in sports history, Foreman embodied raw power, resilience, and an iron will. Yet behind the glory was a man slowly burning himself out. By March 1985, George had just emerged from his fourth divorce from Andrea Skeet, carrying the heavy baggage of 4 failed marriages, tangled relationships, illegitimate children, and a private life riddled with scandal. At just 36, his body remained powerful, but his spirit was drained from years of excess, fame, and self-destruction. That's when Mary Joan Martelli entered his life. Born in St. Lucia and nearly 14 years younger, Mary stood out for one unexpected reason. She knew almost nothing about George Foreman, the boxing legend, when they first met. She didn't approach him with awe or starstruck admiration. She wanted no fame, no spotlight. And that, more than anything, captured George's attention. They dated quietly for about a year, long enough for Mary to see the man beyond the ring, and long enough for George to confront the chaos of his own past. On March 18, 1985, they married. It was George's fifth marriage, and to many observers, it looked less like a fresh start and more like a desperate gamble. His previous marriages, to Adrienne Calhoun, Cynthia Lewis, Sharon Goodson, and Andrea Skeet, had ended quickly and painfully, reinforcing his image as a man driven by unchecked desire, infidelity, and constant conflict. Custody battles and legal disputes only deepened the shadow surrounding his name. But Mary didn't stand at a distance and judge. She stepped in to rebuild. In the years that followed, she took charge of George's legal troubles, especially those involving children from his past relationships. While others saw wreckage, Mary saw responsibility. As she quietly handled paperwork in courtrooms, George began contemplating something almost unthinkable: returning to boxing. At 38, an age when most fighters were long retired, his comeback plans were widely mocked. But Mary believed in him, not with loud cheers, but with stability. She kept the household grounded, protected the family, and allowed George to focus on what he did best. That steady presence proved crucial. Against all odds, George staged one of the greatest comebacks in boxing history and reclaimed his place among legends. After marrying Mary, George's personal life truly changed. The scandals faded. The affairs disappeared. In their place stood a stable, grounded family, large, complex, but united. Together, George and Mary had 5 children: George IV, George V, George VI, Leola, and Natalie. The repeated naming of George became a symbol of continuity and unity. Mary earned widespread admiration for embracing her husband's turbulent past and guiding him back to family life. Nearly 4 decades later, their marriage remained intact. When George Foreman passed away on March 21, 2025, the final image left behind wasn't that of a reckless womanizer, but of a man devoted to his family, proof that even the most hardened playboy can change. Mary didn't try to remake George into someone else. She supported his ambition, encouraged his return to the ring, and still kept him firmly anchored in the warmth of home. And that completes the larger picture of 9 marriages marked by dramatic age gaps that continue to spark public debate. These unions force us to question where genuine love ends and personal gain begins. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might differ, and that's what makes the conversation compelling. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next video, because behind every celebrity spotlight lies a story few ever tell.